welcome back to Experiencing Our God. This is chapter 14, and we're going to talk about experiencing God in fear and confronting the night. Very interesting title to this chapter. So I'm just going to bring out a couple notes and then we'll go from there. You know, in the night is a metaphor, and it means a time when a person believes God has abandoned him or her. It's a feeling of total loss and total loss of the control of your life. Now, we put that aside for a second. There was a book written about, well, several books written about people being in the night, meaning that spiritually they're at a point where they feel they are totally disconnected from God and God isn't hearing them or God isn't responding. And that brings up fear. That was a major fear in ancient days. One wanted to make sure one was always in communication with God. And the interesting thing about that is, yes, you are always in communication with God if you want it to be. You see, it's something that you have to want. It's up here. You got to think about it. It's too easy to say, God, my life isn't going well. I'm done. Now, what's interesting to me, and I'll bring this up, is this fear in the night that one's life is just kind of screwy and somehow God, you work for God and it's going to fix it. Not the best of ideas. So when I was in the seminary, the beginning of it, that was a question that went around the table. So why are you here? Now, it's kind of different. It wasn't an exact question about fear, but it was, why do you feel you've been called to come preach the Bible or pastor or rabbi, whatever you want to say, or whatever your job position you wanted? And a lot of the people that were there because a major life change occurred, which really was terrible and made them fearful and put their spirits, their souls in a bad place. And honestly, most of them were middle-aged women, meaning about 50 years old, who said, got married, had kids, raised kids, husband walked out on me, life really stinks. If I will work for God, things will be great. And maybe for some it is, but that's not really a true calling, is it? You'd have to actually talk to person by person and make that assessment. Just because you think you're in the night of your soul does not mean that God has abandoned you. God has not abandoned you. You got to get rid of that thought. God does not abandon. You put up the block. The barrier. It's like going like this. It's a barrier. Interesting enough, when we look at the Zohar and the tree of life, as Rabbi Isaac Luria, I should say, created it, one of the things that he talked about is a veil that sits between certain sephira on the tree. Remember, there's 10 of them because of the 10 characteristics of God, but there are certain ones we can't see and certain ones we can't feel. And that's the way he defined it, was the upper waters and the lower waters of heaven. That doesn't mean God is not talking to you from those sephira. Keter, Hakma, and Bina, the first three, is believed to have a veil that we can't really see it, or I should say experience them. But that doesn't mean that Hakma and Bina are not sending us God's light. In fact, that's happening all the time. It just gets filtered down as it comes to us. So we can always feel it. But if I then put my blinders on and shut my eyes, I'm not going to feel that light or see that light or see those actions because I don't want to. I've done it to myself. So it's not God that puts you into the night. It's your situation that puts you into the night. And it's your mind, your soul, that says, I don't want to get out of this. For whatever reason. I know everyone who's listening to this thinking, gee, I've been there and I've wanted to get out. Yeah, I've been in those dark places too. And sometimes it took a day or so to realize I'm in a dark place and I'm not calling upon God. Gotta do it. So think about that the next time. So if you're in that night, turn it around and say, God, I want to feel your light. I want to see your presence. I want you to help me get out of this. And it will happen. And God will be there. And you will experience God then in the night, mainly because, again, you're searching for him. So God bless you in this chapter understanding. I hope it helps you in some way, shape, or form. And as always, shalom.